From the Blackbird Studios in sunny North Cambridge, it's the Rave X 10-minute podcast. And now, Rave X.
What the fuck is going on? It's your boy Rave. Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in to the Rave X 10-minute podcast, episode 9. And originally I had another show planned for today, but we'll probably do it next week. It will be great, as always. I just caught the Luke Cage Netflix series, and I'm sure you guys have seen this. It's really good. So I wanted to give a little bit of a review and my opinions on this, because a couple of shows ago we were talking about race and superheroes, and one of the things that I said 2 or 3 times was that we don't need a white superhero turned black. What we need is a positive African-American superhero that kicks fucking ass, man, and I think we got it with the Luke Cage Netflix series, and it's really, really good. I give it a I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. So I got some notes here, and we just want to go over some of the things I really, really liked about this show. So first of all, Luke Cage is a Marvel hero. You can Google it, hit the Wikipedia. He's played by an actor named Mike Coulter. I haven't seen him in too many things, but he fucking nails it as Luke Cage, man. He does a really, really good job. Now, one of the things that's so awesome about this show is it's not a black superhero in a white world running around stopping, hedge fund, corrupt Wall Street brokers. He's fucking balls deep in the ghetto, man. He is in Harlem, and the whole show takes place in Harlem. So it's different than if you've seen Jessica Jones or you saw Daredevil. There's a Punisher show coming out soon. This has a very different feel to it, man, and all the characters are great. You've got a great villain. His name is Cottonmouth, or Cottonmouth, depending on how you want to pronounce it, played by a guy named Mahershala Ali. I'm sure I mispronounced that. Sorry. He does a great job, man. He's a fucking psychopath. But like a lot of these villains in the Marvel world that they do, it's not just black and white. You know, he's not just the evil bad guy who's out to get all the money or take over the world. It's very what they call street level, right? There's no space or super villains or anything like that. And the thing about this guy, Cottonmouth, is he's very much a modern, contemporary styled gangster, big into hip hop. He's got this big picture of Biggie on his wall. Yeah, the notorious B.I.G., baby. He's got this big picture of Biggie with a crown on his head. And someone walks into his office and he says, "You like my picture of Biggie? You know what everyone likes about that picture? The crown, because every nigga want to be the king." Yeah, that's my Cottonmouth impression. Thank you. And they do this great shot with the camera where he stands in front of the picture and then he walks forward and the camera pulls back a little bit and it looks like the crown's on Cottonmouth's head. It's a really good shot. He's one of these bad guys that kind of reminded me of like Al Capone, where people said, you know, Al Capone gave money to the community and blah, 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 but then he would go and like kill people and fucking murder hookers or whatever. This guy, Cottonmouth, does some good things for the community in Harlem. He supports a woman who's running for city council. And you find out that they are corrupt. They're just so corrupt. The city councilwoman is corrupt. Cottonmouth is corrupt. He owns a club. And if you've ever seen any of the old footage of the Cotton Club, it was one of the first places where you could go and hear African-American music and jazz and stuff like that. He owns a club like that. There's a lot of music in here, a lot of new artists that I've never heard of who do, you know, every episode will kind of start off or end with a sort of musical performance from these people. Really, really good. So he runs this club, Cottonmouth. He extorts money from all of the local businesses. And then eventually Luke Cage has to get involved. He really doesn't want to. We do get a little bit of an origin of his story, which is good. You know, it's a very generic origin. They did experiments on him. I mean, he's from the 70s where people feared sort of science and technology now, so they did experiments, and he got superpowers. And he's pretty much Superman, but he can't fly, which I thought was really good. If he could fly or shoot lasers out of his eyes, it would not be as good. So he's working in a barbershop. He's got this mentor named Pop. And, spoiler alert, shit goes sideways. That's all I'm going to say. And then Luke Cage has to get involved. The other thing that I liked about the show was it wasn't pandering to the African-American culture. All the characters are black, and it really gets into the good of the African-American culture in Harlem, the music, the community, and it also gets into the bad. You know, it really, really does. There's a line in there where someone says, all these kids got guns and none of them got fathers. And that was a fucking powerful line, man. You know, all of them got guns and none of them got fathers. And they don't hit you over the head with it. Like, again, they're not preaching to you, but they do get into as to why a lot of these young kids are joining gangs and shooting each other up and stuff like that. You know, and they get into drugs and backstabbing amongst the African-American culture. All the cops, for the most part, are kind of crooked. And the funny thing is, just about every white person in the show is bad. And that's just, it just is... it's how it is, man, in this particular show. There's a lot of talk about Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King, Crispus Attucks, all of this stuff. And it's a really, really good show. You do see there's a lot of action, not a lot of explosions and stuff like that. A lot of him fighting, which the fight scenes in this one, they're not amazing. The fight scenes in Daredevil were better because Luke Cage is pretty much invincible. So they shoot at him. Bullets bounce off him. It's not that big of a deal to him. I'm hoping later on in the series, I didn't watch all of it. I still have about 3 or 4 episodes to go. I'm hoping they find a way to give him a bit of a weakness, because right now he's invincible. He can do anything. They hit him with pipes, nothing happens. So he'll walk into a room and he'll just start throwing people through windows. At one point, he throws a couch at a bunch of people. It's real good, man. He really cleans house when he needs to. And I heard someone commenting on the fact that with everything that's going on with Black Lives Matter and Hands Up, Don't Shoot and cops shooting unarmed black men, we now, in 2016, have an African-American superhero who wears a hoodie and he's bulletproof. So there's something to be said about that, you know what I mean? One of the things I wanted to get into was the costume, because it's always weird with these superhero shows where do we give him a full-blown superhero costume or not? And I think with this show, Luke Cage, they really nailed it because originally his costume was very... modeled after sort of black exploitation things. He had an afro and a silver headband and a big sort of a yellow satin shirt with a big collar, and he had a chain for a belt to represent the plight of the slaves who were chained up. And again, I don't want to give away too much, but he has to swim from prison. He does serve time in prison. You see that in his origin sort of parts of his origin story that they show you. And he's swimming, and he's just in his underwear, and he has the metal cuffs around his wrist and the metal sort of headband, but this was part of the experiment that they had him in. Sort of like Wolverine. Wolverine was in that sort of tank, and he jumps out, and he's got stuff all over him. And so he swims to shore, and if you've ever seen Man of Steel, there's a scene where Clark Kent comes out of the water, and he grabs some clothes from the clothesline. So Luke Cage does the same thing, and it's perfect, man. They fucking nailed it because the shirt he grabs is like a satin yellow shirt and some jeans. He doesn't have a belt, so he uses like a dog chain for a belt, and he still has the silver headband on and the silver cufflinks on. So ostensibly, he has the full Luke Cage blaxploitation costume on from the 70s. And you get a quick glimpse of him. I was wondering how much they were going to show of this. You do see him with that yellow shirt and the jeans. And if I'll put a picture up in the YouTube page. And he walks past a car and he looks in the mirror and he goes, "I look like a goddamn fool." And then he takes it off. So most of the time, you just kind of see him in a shirt, When Marvel updated everyone, Luke Cage looked different. He doesn't have the afro anymore. And there is a scene where he goes into the bathroom of, he's in a hotel room, and he shaves his head and shaves his big beard into a goatee, looking very much like the modern Luke Cage now. And I think towards the end, what's going to happen is he's going to have like a leather jacket, like a sort of dirty yellowish copper leather jacket. And I've always said with superheroes, all you really have to do is just put them in a leather jacket. You know what I mean? They did that in Smallville, too. With there was a time before Clark Kent got an actual costume that he just had like a red leather jacket with an S on it. And we see that towards the end. And I think that when this is done, he's going to have more of the Luke Cage sort of superhero vibe. And they get a lot of the bullet points from the comics in there. Like at one point someone says to him, like, "What you know about that Power Man?" And, of course, that was his name in the comic book, Power Man, There's another thing where someone's convincing him, like, "You're helping all these people in Harlem. You should, like, hire yourself out as a hero." And he says, "I ain't no hero." And that was another thing from the comic, like Luke Cage, hero for hire. So definitely, man, hats off to the people who write this show, because you have to have you have to be subtle with these shows. You can't just start off over the top, or we think it's unbelievable or it's stupid. But when you throw in these little things, right, like he can't stand up and say, "I'm Luke Cage, Power Man." You can't do that anymore. So just having someone have a a throwaway line like, what do you know, Power Man? Like, they're calling him that because he's a big, strong dude. Now, when I was a kid, the first movie I remember seeing was Star Wars. After that, it was Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman. And I always thought it was so cool. I was like, wow, he's the good guy, right? It inspired me to try to be the good guy most of the time. So I hope with this show, young black kids, if you're 15, 13, 12, 19, however age you are, I hope they look at this and they kind of get inspired to try to be the good guy. You can be the good guy even if you live in a not-so-great neighborhood. But what I fear is a lot of inner-city black youths will watch this show. They'll think it's fucking dope because it is, but I'm guessing that they're going to gravitate more towards the bad guy, Cottonmouth. And I think that they're going to look at that and go, damn, this nigga had a club. He had Cristal everywhere. Bitches, I want to be like that. And they might miss the point of, Luke Cage trying to be the positive role model for the community. But who knows, man? I'm not here to fucking preach to you, man. It's just a stupid podcast. So I highly recommend Luke Cage. Check it out. Also, before we go, I just wanted to go over a few things here, man. We got the stats for Rave X Music on YouTube. And I just wanted to tell you guys this. We are now on Podbean. That's right. You can go to ravexmusic.podbean.com. If you just want to download the show, maybe you don't want to watch it on your phone because you're driving, you want to take it with you jogging, wherever you want to go, you can download it on ravexmusic.podbean.com. Also on YouTube, the YouTube channel. We have over 480 views, kids. Can you fucking believe it? Who would have thought it? Not me.
Dude, that's all balls.
So we're trying to get to 500, man, so I need you to do me a favor. Share the podcast. Tell a friend, man. Also, I saw some funny stats on my YouTube channel that people in Poland listen to this show. It's true. It's like 0.9% or something like that. But the show is being watched in Poland, which is kind of crazy. Also, 1% of our listeners are in Brazil. Just crazy, too. Muchas gracias, hermanito. We also have some people watching the show all the way from Alaska. So Brazil, Poland, Alaska. We are taking over the fucking world with the money-making, record-breaking Rave X 10-minute podcast live from the Blackbird Studios in sunny North Cambridge. Hey, man, thanks for tuning in, hitting the YouTube, hitting the Podbean. And until next week, remember this, kids. I got nothing this week. You're going to have to come up with it on your own. My name's Rave X, and I'm out of here.
That was the Rave X 10-minute podcast. Be sure to click like and subscribe.
For new music and all things Rave X, go to youtube.com and search Rave X Music. Come on now.